Have you ever heard of the word mutaween? It's an Arabic word, of course. It means religious police. They've got them in countries with Sharia law, places like Saudi Arabia and Iran. They don't go around fighting real crimes. They go around fighting religious crimes. Crimes like if you're a woman going out into the street without covering yourself in a black sack. That's what they require in places like Saudi Arabia. And Allah forbid if you've got a little bit of ankle showing. Here, look, this is a video taken on a cell phone camera of mutaween in Iran trying to arrest a woman for showing an inch of ankle. These mutaween are so hated, they're despised by normal people. Here, there's a group of these mutaween thugs that were asked to leave a shopping mall. Now listen to the cheering of the women and children, all of whom were dressed in sacks, mind you, when these mutaween were shown the door. I'd say score one for the girls, but they're still forced to wear sacks. Now, back in 2002, in the holy city of Mecca, a fire broke out in an all-girls school. Because it was an all-girls school, the girls inside weren't forced to wear the sacks. But when they rushed outside to get out of the flames, well, the mutaween were there to drive them back in because they didn't have their sacks on. The so-called religious police were there not to save the girls, not to rescue them, but to push them back into the burning school until they covered up their ankles, I guess. So 15 girls died in that fire because, according to these mutaween, these fascist animals, for those girls to come out with their hair showing would have been a fate worse than death. So the mutaween sent them back in to die. These Saudi thugs will arrest a man, too, if they think he, say, has a girlfriend. Take a look. Here, the mutaween are arresting a man because he was at a women's university. He was picking up his sister, but the cops are too stupid to know that, and if they did, they probably didn't care. So if you're a woman, you can't go out in public in Iran or Saudi Arabia unless you follow strict Sharia law codes. If you're a man, you better watch your step, too. But, of course, you can take your sheep into a bank in Saudi Arabia. Look at this. Because, of course, animals have more rights in Saudi Arabia than women do. Now, this Sharia law is spreading. I mean, the rebels in Syria, you know, the good guys affiliated with Al-Qaeda taking on the dictator there, well, they're setting up the mutaween, too. Take a look.
الصلاة يا مسلم الصلاة يا عبد الله الصلاة الصلاة هداكم الله الصلاة يلا يا مسلم بادل طاعة.
So that's some loser driving through Syria in the back of a truck with a submachine gun, just shouting at passers-by, go to mosque, go to mosque. What a loser. But he's a loser with a gun, isn't he? That's the mutaween. Oh, did I mention? They're coming to Canada, too. You see, our friend Pamela Geller was scheduled to speak here just north of Toronto in the York region. You remember Pamela. We've had her on our show a dozen times. I'm a fan, obviously. You might remember her that we chose her as one of our favorite freedom fighters in our year-end special back in December. Here's a clip from that.
The scorn and derision that's heaped upon me on a daily basis is indicative of just how bad things are. Because I'm fighting not for any one person. I'm fighting for all people. I'm fighting for individual rights under the law. I don't believe in special rights for special classes. I don't believe in supremacism in any way. So it's a knee-jerk reaction to me. I don't know that there's a choice.
She's smart, she's principled, but I like her because she's a doer, not just a talker. She organizes things. She puts up ads to show people the reality of the jihadist war against the West. She rallied thousands of New Yorkers, especially firemen and police, against a proposed victory mosque on the site of 9/11 in New York. Now, maybe you don't like her. So what? Ignore her, turn the channel, or better yet, engage her in a debate. Oh, and good luck, because she's an excellent debater with an encyclopedic command of the facts. So Geller was invited to speak in the Greater Toronto Area by the Jewish Defense League in a synagogue up north called Chabad at Flamingo, that's what it's called, offered to let them use their room. Everyone's welcome. It was an inclusive event, a democratic event to talk about our liberties and the threat that Islamic violence poses. But then the rabbi of that synagogue got a threat. Not from a terrorist, not from a would-be bomber, but you're not going to believe this, from a police officer. Seriously, a police officer with the York Regional Police. His name is Ricky Virapan. That's him on the right there. And he works for, get this, he works for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau of the York Regional Police. Seriously, that's his job. Except for this time, it wasn't to be inclusive, to allow all points of view. It was to keep out one point of view. Virapan had a meeting with the rabbi at the synagogue. Presumably, Virapan wore his gun and his badge. He met with the rabbi and told the rabbi to cancel the event. Not because Pamela Geller is a terrorist or a criminal, the opposite. She brings a warning about terrorists and criminals, but because, and I quote, "We serve the needs of the entire community. Some of the stuff that Ms. Geller speaks about runs contrary to the values of York Regional Police and the work we do in engaging our communities," unquote. That's what this cop said. No crime, no law breaking, no criminal record, nothing, just, quote, "some of the stuff she speaks about runs contrary to the values of the police." Really like what, officer? You mean like liberty or standing guard against terrorists? Do tell. What exactly is it that Pamela Geller says that you disapprove of? And more to the point, who the hell are you to be a political censor? Who the hell are you to make judgments about what political points of view can or can't be held or spoken? So that was what this cop told our reporter, Terry Davidson, yesterday. It was our Sun newspapers today. But later, today, in fact, our own Faith Goldie got on the phone to that same cop, and he said something else. Take a listen.
Have you ever, let's say, intervened in a situation like this before?
No. We've never had to do this because it's, essentially our discussion or the discussion with Rabbi Kaplan. Like I said, Rabbi Kaplan is a very valued member of our organization, and as we would do as a courtesy to any of our members and any of our chaplains. He may not have had all of the information presented to him, and we took the opportunity to present him with all of the information as we understood it through our hate crime investigation.
So hang on. Yesterday, Ricky, the cop, I love that kid's name, Ricky, because it sounds like a little kid playing cops and robbers. So yesterday, Ricky says it was about Pamela Geller having the wrong values. But today, he told Faith that he had actually conducted a hate crime investigation and provided information from that investigation to this rabbi to get him to cancel the event. Really? A hate crime? So what Pamela Geller says is not just wrong now, but it's against the law in Canada? Ricky, are you sure you're a real cop? I'd like to see what Ricky the cop thinks Pamela Geller has said that's illegal in Canada. I'd like to see that, because I don't think Ricky the cop actually did a real investigation. I think he's making it up. I'm quite sure he just did what cops do more and more these days. They take the politically correct path of least resistance. And it's easier to bully a Jew than a radical Muslim. And so it's easier to shut down a peace-loving New York Jewish woman and bully a Jewish rabbi in North York than to stand up to the real threat of terrorism or Muslim radicals who support it. And bullying the rabbi is exactly what Ricky the cop did. Listen to him confess it.
Well, I'll make this very clear. There was no threats. All we did was present him with the facts and the information that we had relating to the, to the philosophy of Ms. Geller. And as a result of that, the rabbi, once presented with all the facts, decided not to have the event at his synagogue.
So are you denying right now that there was absolutely no talk that his role with as chaplain at York Regional, within the York region, no talk that would come under review or that would be in any way jeopardized?
Certainly there was talk about that, but it wasn't conveyed as a threat.
So you've got this cop going in, presumably with his gun in his holster, and telling a rabbi that the woman he's about to host a speech for is a criminal? That's essentially what Ricky the cop told our reporter, Faith Goldie. That's what he said to the rabbi. with a threat of, well, you like being chaplain, eh? Well, shame if anything would happen to that. Now, if I were Pamela Geller, I would sue Ricky the cop for defamation. I don't believe they've done a criminal investigation of her at all. I think they're just bad-mouthing her, smearing her as a criminal, just to get around the fact that what they're really doing is censoring her politics. So they call her politics a crime. Now, even in Saudi Arabia, they have the common sense to divide up the work here. The real police work on real policing, crimes, catching terrorists. That's for real cops. And the losers, the wackos, the fringe, they're the mutaween. The mutaween aren't real cops. They're losers who go around checking how long your skirt is. Not at the regional police of York. There, the religious mutaween actually wear real cop badges and real cop guns. And they meet with rabbis and tell them they better now have or have not certain speakers. Seriously, that just happened in Canada. Sorry, if you are a Jew in Canada who holds the same views as Pamela Geller, are you, quote, welcome in York Region? If Officer Veerapan pulls you over for a speeding infraction, is it because of a real crime? Or is it now because of a thought crime? Is it because you share Pamela Geller's political views, as I do? Well, how would you even know with Officer Veerapan? And if you don't comply with Veerapan, what will happen to you? Why does he have a gun? You see, Veerapan actually threatened the Rabbi at Chabad. If he didn't cancel Geller, the rabbi would be fired as a police chaplain, plain and simple. That's the mutaween. So that's who's not welcome in Canadian police. But who is welcome in Canadian police? Who have police welcome, not just in their community, but actually as a fellow police chaplain? Why, this fellow, a Muslim imam named Munir El-Qassam. He's a big fan of a Jew-hating U.S. extremist named Louis Farrakhan. But what has El-Qassam himself said? Why, take a listen.
To keep referring to the mostly ineffective so-called Hamas rockets is a red herring. It is a distortion to divert people away and distract them from the real and core issue, the issue of occupation, subjugation, and dehumanized treatment.
So that imam has compared Israel's treatment of Arabs to dehumanization. He's actually compared them to the Holocaust. And he has excused Hamas terrorist rockets against Israeli civilians. He even calls them so-called rockets. So this extremist isn't just welcome in London, Ontario. He has actually been given a police uniform, this imam, this Muslim imam, and the title of Muslim chaplain of the London police, the guy who was just excusing terrorists. The mutaween of York Region work on pressuring a peaceful Jewish rabbi into canceling the peaceful speech of a peaceful Jewish woman, ringing the bell about terrorism, ringing the alarm. But the mutaween of London, Ontario actually recruit a Muslim imam to be their police chaplain and let him wear their uniform, despite his vocal support not just of garden variety Jew haters like Farrakhan, but actually terrorists with rockets like Hamas. Now, I love cops, grew up loving them. My father taught our family to love and respect cops, always sided with cops. They were the symbol of our guarantee of freedom and security. That childish illusion becomes hard to maintain every day, doesn't it?